All right, so number 37, it says convert polar coordinates. Okay, so we got to convert these things. How do I know that it's in polar coordinates? Well, because right there. Okay, so if it has the radian, that means that it's in polar form. Okay, and how it works is, remember, this is the radius, and then this right here, this is the angle. Okay, so we have to try to change this into rectangular. So right now, I notice 7 pi over 6. If I was to draw a unit circle, 7 pi over 6, if I'm looking, it's 210 degrees. So that means it's all the way right here. Okay, so that's 7 pi over 6. Now, 210 minus 180, that means that this is basically 30 degrees. Okay, this is 30 degrees, and then if I were to drop a line down here and make this a 90-degree triangle, then that means that I know a couple things. In order for me to find the rectangular, I need to know basically the x distance, and then the y distance to find out where this point is. Okay. Now I know that the radius is 4, so I'm going to put a 4 right here, and I just got to figure out what the x and what the y is, and then I'm good to go. So we're just going to use trig functions. Since I have the angle, and then right here this is the hypotenuse. If I want to find out what the x value of my rectangular coordinate is, to find the x value here, that's going to be cosine. You guys see how it's adjacent over hypotenuse? So we say cosine of 30 degrees equals x over 4. Okay? So solve for x, multiply both sides by 4, and then look at what cosine of 30 degrees is on your chart. Cosine of 30 degrees is 1/2. So what's half of 4? 2. So that means my x value is going to be 2 for the rectangular coordinate. Okay? So this is 2. Now you could use the Pythagorean theorem from here, but I would just look at this now and say, okay, well, if I want to find the y value, it's almost exactly the same, except the only difference is now I'm going to be doing sine. So it's going to be sine, and this would just bother me if I left this here. I was going to be lazy, but okay. So sine of 30 degrees is going to be y over 4. Okay, so notice it's opposite over adjacent from this little picture I drew. Opposite over a hypotenuse. Okay, multiply both sides by 4. That cancels. Okay, so now I got 4 times sine of 30. Looking at the chart, sine of 30 is radical 3 over 2. When I simplify this, the 2 and that 4 cancel, and so I'm left with 2 radical 3. So then the y value for my rectangular coordinate is 2 radical 3. Okay, that's what that guy looks like. Okay, or you guys could just look at your stupid formula sheet and say, oh, do I need to find the x value? So I go r cosine theta. Do I need to find the y value? You could just use this. Okay, so you guys are going to have that on there. However, I think it's better if you know how to derive it like this, because you can't always rely on those formulas, man. It's like a crutch. All right, so the next thing we want to find the rectangular coordinates. So rectangular coordinates aren't bad. So I'm going to get all this out of the way. So it's giving me the radius. Oh, no. Okay, so convert rectangular coordinates to polar. Okay, so it's giving me the x and the y. I need the r and the theta. Okay, so in order to get the r and the theta, let's kind of get an idea of where this thing is at. So it's x value is 2 radical 3, and then the y value is down 2. So it's over here in the 4th quadrant. Okay? So if I was to draw the triangle and drop down the line, make it a 90 degree. Okay, this is 2 radical 3, and then this distance right here is negative 2. Okay, so we want to know what the r is and then what the theta is. So we can use, well, since we've got opposite over adjacent, we can use tangent to find that out. Okay, so tangent of the angle is going to be opposite over this, which is going to be 2 radical 3. Okay, and so I see that the 2's are going to cancel, and I'm left with negative 1 over radical 3. And then if I rationalize, meaning multiply the top and the bottom by radical 3, then that'll be negative radical 3 over 3. So really, I just have to look up at my chart. Where's tangent negative radical 3 over 3? Right down there at 330. And that makes sense because look, isn't this in the 4th quadrant, like 330? So this is going to be 330, but I need it to be in radians, so that's 11 pi over 6. And that's how we find that guy out. Now, to find out what the radius is, all we're going to do is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, so 2 radical 3 squared plus negative 2 squared will give me my radius squared. Now when I square this, notice that this is multiplication, so I have to square the 2 to get me 4, and then I have to square the radical 3, which will give me 3. Okay, so that first term is going to be 12. And then I squared the negative 2, that'll give me the 4, so then this is going to be 16. So 16 is r squared, so that means r equals 4. Okay? Let's put that in. And that is the polar coordinate. So that's the polar, and that's the rectangular.